calling this meeting of the Community Redevelopment Agency for the 22nd of September 25 to order. Roll call, please. You could not hear me? Okay. Thank you. I'm calling this meeting to order for the Community Redevelopment Agency for the 22nd of September 2025. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Chair Rich.
Here.
Vice Chair Collins.
Here.
Board Member Clark.
Here.
Board Member Giobbi. Board Member Reed.
Here.
Board Member Brickbill.
Here.
Board Member James.
Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Can I get a motion for the approval of the agenda, please?
Move approval of the agenda for the CRA as published.
Second.
We have a motion by Board Member Clark and a second by the Vice Mayor. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Can I get a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved with modification?
Okay. Board Member Breckbill?
Second, what is-
Board Member Breckbill would like to correct an error.
Yes, I was going to say, I was going to second it with the modification. I wasn't sure what he was modifying.
What I was
I would
modifying?
listen to what he puts in
Okay.
there.
What is, okay.
So-
Modification.
I just wanted to make a clarification. Let me get I got mine on my phone here. Let me get a clarification. Under the comments for the members, I had made a comment about not wanting to move the rollback, not want to roll back the millage rate, but instead make whatever improvements or changes we could make, but take the tax savings from that and rebate it to our our citizens through a fee reduction, because with it doing it the way it is, the big developers and everything are going to get the biggest benefit out of the tax break, and the little guys aren't. So I wanted to do that, and I wanted to make clear that was what I was saying. It stops with want to raise the millage, because I don't want to just do that. But anyway,
Do you feel like,
Understand, we spoke about it,
no, I'm just
and
talking about.
I'll go back and listen to the
Well,
recording
those
and
would be
double
one of
check.
them. Fire assessment would be a fee,
Okay.
or utilities.
no, I remember him saying that. So
public
the
comment.
clerk has indicated, Board Member Breckbill, that they'll go back and listen to the tape and make the correction. Is that okay with you?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay. Will you make a motion then, please?
I would make a motion to approve the minutes with the modification that the clerk's going to make.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Breckbill and a second by Board Member Clark. Do we have any public comment regarding the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Comments from the public on non-agenda related items. Madam Clerk, do we have any green cards?
I do, Robin Cartwright.
Okay.
Taking comments since it's a presentation?
Not at this point, no.
Then I would like to.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today I had the privilege of meeting with the city manager and city attorney, presumably because of my background, to discuss the grant process and where there were deficiencies and opportunities for improvement. I am grateful for the invite, and I had high hopes, but after sharing what I'm about to share with you, I seriously doubt I'll be invited back. Looking back over my notes, I think I was invited so the city might have someone on their side and maybe check something off a list. But also, if I didn't go, it could be said that the manager extended an olive branch and I declined. And I was prepared with questions about the process and workflows, and I researched how other cities do this work, and I took it very seriously. I had 4 pages of questions. I asked all of my questions, and there were a lot of responses I didn't ask for, and we met for a total of about 2 hours. The city manager opened with and continued to talk about all the reasons why the city wasn't at fault for most things, with the occasional acknowledgement of fault while simultaneously casting dispersions. On a side note, I would recommend you ask the city manager to state who he thinks is at fault, at least partially. I closed my part of the meeting with that it would be a great opportunity for the city to have a PR win. I even said, as someone who has had an acrimonious relationship with the city, why would you want another enemy? And it doesn't matter who did what up to this point, it's irrelevant. There's a problem that needs to be fixed. Acknowledge what was wrong, agree with the scope of work, and move forward. You can deal with the stuff outside of the scope of work later. Their immediate response was that the Hamiltons refused to work with staff, and in that same breath, the city manager talked about the code of ethics and why it exists, naming former Commissioner Tom Campenny and making sure he read to me why any of the current commissioners could theoretically be removed. But for any grant recipient, they presumably have never received a grant, so you can only go off the information being provided to you. The city has made this about the Hamiltons and their emails and actions instead of where the city failed. And regardless of what you think of anybody's personality, here's what cannot be argued. The city was the project manager, the city performed the inspections, not Patriot or Guardians or a third party, and the city paid for subpar work to be done. I wonder if only one of us was there for an opportunity to be better, especially as the city manager shared with me personal financial information about the Hamiltons. And FYI, I was scoffed at by the city manager and the city attorney, and I was sure to point that out. And they wonder why people don't come to staff or to them when there's an issue that needs to be resolved. This isn't personal. Don't let the city manager and staff make it personal. There is enough fault to go around. Your job is to determine the responsibility the city has to resolve this and what responsibility you have going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that we have been joined by Board Member Joby.
Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
It took me longer to walk over than I thought.
And Madam Clerk, do we have any other?
I have no further public comment.
Okay. Action item number 2, CRA budget. And Mr. Baggett, do you want to read this, or should I just go ahead? I'll go ahead. Okay, so this is resolution number 06-2025, CRA, a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Stuart, Florida, adopting the CRA budget of the City of Stuart, Florida for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30, 2026, and appropriating capital budget for fiscal year 26, and providing for a 5-year capital improvement plan for projects within the community redevelopment area boundaries, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Is there any presentation by staff on this
Yes.
item?
Yes, I'll give the presentation. Panal Gandhi
Ms.
Savdas,
Gandhi Savdas?
CRA Director for the record. Every year, CRA is required to present its annual budget to the CRA Board for approval by a resolution to comply with state law. Here is a brief summary of the TIF revenue. The CRA's original base value is $299 million, and the current taxable value for the city is for the CRA is $940 million. So this gives us about $641 million in increment value. So that means the payment to the CRA from the general fund with the 4.9 millage is $2.9 million, and the county payment to the CRA is about $4 million for a total TIF revenue of $6.9 million to the CRA trust fund. Here's a chart that shows the breakdown of CRA revenues from all sources. As I mentioned earlier, the county's TIF contribution is about $4 million. The city's contribution from the general fund is about $2.9 million. And then the additional revenue sources come from $12.9 million is from grants, $35,000 in interest revenue, $2,700 from the wayfinding sign programs, and then $488,000 from the CRA fund balance to balance this year's budget. So altogether, this results in a total revenue, CRA revenue of $20.5 million for fiscal year 2026.
I had no idea we were getting money from Marin County, California. If you go back.
Martin, oh, sorry, that's a typo. So this shows the appropriation by category. Total of $20.5 million is budgeted in various categories, including operating expenses, and then personal services, which include salaries and benefits for the CRA staff, professional services for planning and design for projects that the CRA is currently working on, grants for incentive programs such as the BURP and mural matching grant. As you can see, those are all small percentages, and we also have other uses such as tram service, FEC leases, and various downtown maintenance projects. But most importantly, you will notice that 88% of our budget is dedicated to infrastructure projects. We are responsible for budgeting and appropriating TIF funds for capital improvement projects, and allocating this through a 5-year CIP, which outlines the capital projects to be implemented in the next 5 years. You've seen this budget summary sheet. I presented this previously. The Guy Davis Park, we've budgeted that for $10.7 million in the fiscal year 2026. Downtown undergrounding, which is also underway. But we do have some unexpended funds that are remaining for utility fees, such as AT&T and Comcast, that have not been paid yet. So there's a remaining balance that's reflected in the 2026 budget and CIP. Riverside Park Improvement Project, again, at the last meeting I had mentioned that project is substantially completed, but there is a small balance remaining in fiscal year 2026 to cover the closeout cost. Project Lift, that project is underway with demolition is scheduled first week of October. Again, we have some outstanding building permit fees and contingency costs that are budgeted for fiscal year 2026. Sitman Drainage and Sidewalk Improvements Project is budgeted at $4 million. We had the neighborhood meeting last week, and we'll be presenting the design to the board in October. But we did budget $4 million for that project. Tree canopy program within the right-of-way is budgeted $150,000. This project will include evaluating the existing canopy coverage within the CRA. We'll identify areas where additional planting is required. We'll develop a CRA-wide infill master plan with preferred tree species list that'll be presented to the board. We'll prioritize the areas and phase out infill implementation. And then we'll prepare site-specific infill plans. We need to look at if there are any conflicts with utilities, drain inlets, streetlights, drainage, and available space. Prepare bid package, advertise, and award contracts. So that's a whole program that we'll undertake in fiscal year 2026. And here are the other projects included in the CIP that are projected to be implemented starting in 2027. That includes the Dixie Highway Improvement Projects, MLK Streetscape, Bayou Pedestrian Bridge, any other streetscape projects in the Triangle District, East Stuart neighborhood, and then we're also looking at doing the 10th Street Community Center Rehab Project in 2028, and any other streetscape improvements on 10th Street. So that kind of summarizes our 5-year CIP. Today, staff is requesting to approve resolution number 06-2025, adopting the CRA budget for fiscal year 2026 and capital improvement plan.
Are there any questions of Ms. Gandhi Savdas from the commission?
How's the HARES program doing and all?
We are we're working with one of the applicant, but we requested additional information, and that's kind of delaying the process. So we do have one application that we're working on.
And then I know Vice Mayor Collins might know more about this. I see a bunch of complete streetscapes in here. I know you mentioned something about complete streetscapes in one of your comments, not wanting to do them in neighborhoods without, I believe, getting their approval, or you said something along those lines. You might know more. I just remember you mentioning it.
Particularly when we were back over off 5th Street in Stitman, it seemed like there was a lot of planning went into it, but then when we ended up having that meeting, the residents were not happy about the prospect of sidewalks, couldn't figure out whose side of the road the sidewalks would go on. And
Gotcha. Okay.
But we had a really successful meeting last week, so we hope to get your support when we present the project next month.
And then I had one more, Panal. There was a line item for $300,000. I believe it's like a redevelopment agreement with Avonlea and Atlantic Point Marina and Elizabeth. I just didn't know what it was for, like maybe some backstory on it.
Yes, that's our READER program, Real Estate Accelerator Pilot Program that we initiated back in 2018, 2019, where we were trying to encourage development at that time because there was shortage of housing. So that was we had it was like an incentive program to encourage developers to incorporate some of the shortage in housing, but also there was public benefits that they would provide. So like for Avonlea, they did a lot of the streetscape improvements as part of their project. So instead of the CRA doing the design and implementing it, it was incorporated as part of their project, and it was a new TIF revenue that would be generated from their project that we would give back as an incentive, like up to 5 years. So they did over $1 million of streetscape improvements within the Avonlea neighborhood. If you go up like by Savannah and all that area, Baker. So all that was done through the developer, but instead of CRA spending the money, they spent the money, and that's a public benefit. And then as a kickback, we have an agreement with Avonlea
reimburse them.
to reimburse them from the TIF revenue that they generated from the project itself.
So 300 grand for 5 years? Is that the nature of the arrangement?
It's, so I think there are like 10 parcels there. So based on when those parcels get developed, the 5 years for those parcels.
Okay.
And but on the one that's the Atlantic Point, I think it's the one. How big is that number? Because that number's pretty large, isn't it? Like, I mean, we're talking $750,000, $1 million a year for 5 years, right?
No, I mean, so far at Avonlea, even though they, their projects are over $1 million, I don't know exactly how many million, but like the reimbursement has only been like about $150,000.
Yeah, but
So it's not,
If I can chime in.
Mr. Mortel.
yeah, I'd like
Mike
to.
Mortel with the city. The RETA program was, if I recall correctly, up to 30% of the TIF money generated from the project for up to 5 years. And so it was a fluctuating amount depending on which projects it was. But if you take the Atlantic, or whatever the name of it is, north of the bridge, it already had a base value based upon whatever the Evinrude property was or whatever was there before. So the TIF margin that came into place would be the use for the calculation, and then it would have only been up to a maximum of 30% of that generated. So at the time the commission adopted it, the theory was that the only money that was getting reimbursed was new money that was generated from the job, and that effectively the city was going to get 70% of the new money, and the project was going to get 30% of the new money. And a lot of times they were using that to help get financing, because at the time that this program was designed, there was some difficulties with banks and financing because of the recession and things like that. And I don't think any of them were anything close to $1 million, because that would require them to pay $3 million a year in ad valorem taxes. So a $50 million assessment, like for a building like the Indigo apartment buildings at the foot of the Indian Street Bridge, their assessed value is $50 million. They pay $1 million a year in taxes, but the $1 million a year they pay in taxes, only $250,000 of that goes to the city of Stuart, because that includes the county taxes, fine taxes, South Florida Water Management, the school board, and all the other stuff. So in that thing, at a $50 million valuation, if it started at zero before that, $250,000, 30% would be about $80,000, and then times 5 years would be a total of $400,000, and that's assuming that 9-acre property had a zero value before it started.
Okay, so if we're talking, let's say Atlantic Point, I think it's a $75 million, $80 million project when it's done, I
Okay.
believe, from the numbers that we talked about previously. And it had a starting assessed value, which I think was, probably under $1 million. But, so in that scenario,
If it was $70 million,
They're gonna get-
increased value.
right,
The millage rate being 5 mils, being the total amount, even though it's going to end up below that, but saying that's it, that would be $350,000 a year. So.
That sounds right, for 5 years.
$112,500 would be 30% of that, which would be the
Okay.
TIF, and then times 5 would be a total of $612,000, assuming that that was the math. Now, when they present to the board and say, we're going to have a $70 million valuation, the property appraiser is not the person that's doing that presentation. And quite often, their presentation doesn't, their assessed value doesn't come anywhere near. Like, for example, when Azul presented to the board, they were going to be worth $15 to $20 million when they opened, and the property appraiser assessed them at 8. So it doesn't always end up at those numbers. But in your scenario, if in fact the city was paying out $1 million to somebody because that valuation was that way, that would mean that the city was receiving, in addition to that, $2 more million, because they're only paying 30% of the new money out. And so if 30% is $1 million, at 33% of $1 million and 66 being the balance would be $2 million more to the city. So the benefit to the city would have been double.
Okay. Two quick other questions. That program is gone now, right? We're not doing that. It's not available. It's out of here.
It's never been rescinded. I suppose somebody could come in and file for it, but the city commission has to, or the CRA, would have to find the certain criterias and the benefit, and I don't think we've ever marketed it or pushed it or suggested that anybody was interested in doing it.
Okay, and then the last question, Panal, we have, the budget was 20 million, 22 million roughly, and we had a base level of 300 million, which is when the original CRA was formed, right? So we're keeping the incremental revenue from the taxes above that 300 million, correct?
Correct.
So that's why we're funding, the city's only funding 3 million of that $20 million budget, right? Because Martin County's funding another 4 million, and then the rest is coming from previous, I assume from previous funds and previous reserves, right?
So the total TIF revenue for this fiscal year, 6.9 million, 4 million coming from the county and 2.9 coming from the city. Now, in order for me to balance the budget this year, because of all the projects we're undertaking, I did have to take some money from fund balance. Is that what you are referring to, the $488,000 from the fund balance, in order to balance the budget this year? I don't know if I'm answering your question, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, so basically, what makes up, because I don't have it right here. Yeah, what makes up the difference in the total? So the big yellow, what's that?
That's the grants.
Okay, so that's the point. So there we got 4, we got 3 for the city. Because of the CRA, basically the county is funding more than the city is for our CRA, which is a good thing for us. And then the grants are money that we've got. Now, are those matching grants or are they just grants? Or a little bit of both?
In some cases, we had to provide a match, but a small amount. But that's the total amount of grants, because these are reimbursement grants. I have to budget for that upfront.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Panal, I just wanted to ask you, since you were over in that neighborhood, did they like all their new stop signs at the
They
intersection?
do, yes. They're very appreciative. And,
It's quite, there's a lot more over there
yeah,
now.
but they want it. They want us to keep it. So
Yeah, you need to
won't be
come over
removing
into
it.
my neighborhood. So that was, well, good, I'm glad because it makes a big difference how you move through that neighborhood.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
with
Board
regard
Member
to
Clark.
Resolution 06-2025, I move approval as presented.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion by Board Member Clark and a second by the Vice Mayor. Is there any public comment on Resolution 06-2025?
I do not have any.
Seeing none, roll call, please.
Board Member Clark?
Here.
Board Member Giobbe?
Yes.
Board Member Reed?
Yes.
Board Member Brickbill?
Yes.
Chair Rich?
Yes.
Vice Chair Collins?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. The Vice Mayor has courteously indicated that I forgot to ask if there are comments by the board members, so I'm going to go back to see if, are there any comments by the board members? Commissioner
I'll
Reed?
make one.
Okay.
I thought you did.
Regarding Agenda Item 3, the CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Grant Program, I'm hoping we can accomplish all of it. We have, 45 minutes? Can it carry on past that if it has to? Or is that up to the chair? Gotcha, okay. All right. Let's see what we can get done.
No, we've often
So we can just,
gone well into the time that the next meeting should start.
perfect. I just want to make sure we're not time restrained then.
No.
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Clark?
No.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
I would just say with regard to that item, I hope that we can just be productive and focus on solving problems and not throwing mud, arguing, making accusations. Where are we at right now, and how do we move forward so that we can have a solution that works for everybody involved? So I personally am not going to entertain any sort of nonsense that's not productive, and I hope it's the pleasure of the board to do the same. And I'm not saying any particular party might be the case, but I don't want to see arguing. It's just, what do we need to do to fix this problem, and how do we move forward with the time that we have is my goal.
Thank you. Board Member Bricknell?
No, thanks.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to item number 3. So here's my suggestion as to, I think we should allow, and I thank the Hamiltons for taking the time to be here. I think we should allow them to go first and just make their presentation. And then if there's questions from the board, we can question them at that time, and then we allow the city to proceed with their presentation. And I don't think the city should be able to, Mr. Mortel or Ms. Gandhi Sabda should be allowed to interrupt the Hamiltons during their presentation. We'll just let them provide the information they think is important. And I don't think, I would ask that the Hamiltons not interrupt the staff when they're making their presentation. So without objection, can we proceed in that manner?
Sure.
Okay. So then, would you come forward, please, Mr. and Mrs. Hamilton, and provide us with the information?
I thought that it was the other way around. I thought these guys were going to make a presentation.
Good afternoon, Olga Hamilton, Southwest 311 3rd Street, Stuart, Florida. Where I go with my little thing here,
Okay.
flash drive.
No.
For her presentation.
So you have a video presentation. Are we prepared to assist her with this?
Yes. Yeah, I thought that. I'm told.
Okay. No, not this one. Miss Candy, this.
I think Sue would be.
To open documents. No, I have another video. Okay. Yeah. Oh, can I see just to click on my flash drive?
Yeah. Let me just open it for you.
Thank you very much.
Which one is it? Which one is it?
Maybe, because I can see them just go. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And first, I would like to introduce our historical building. The 1895 Church of Stuart is Robert and I, we call our building, and Alice Lockhart loved that name for that, our historical building, because it's like a compass everything. Our building consists of 3 parts. I will explain. Central part is actually original 1895 Church of Stuart Methodist, built in 1895, featuring the original studs and overlapping. And then in 1930, St. Mary's made additions, and that building became the first St. Mary's Church. But I will play Alice Lockhart. Robert and I, we got very lucky to record her before she passed.
Okay, we had other things starting to develop. We had our first church. It was a Methodist, but I think we,
Is there any?
okay, we had,
Work on the
okay,
volume.
we had,
At the bottom right. Bottom right.
Bottom right.
Yeah, the bottom right on the screen is the volume. Looks like it's VLC video player.
If it's going to solve this, doesn't even know where you. Oh, yeah.
okay, we had other things starting to develop here. We had our first church. It was a Methodist, but really a community church. And it was built in 1895. Now, they placed it right along the railroad tracks, they did. And they said, we want anybody coming through on that train, the passengers, to know, my goodness, that's a civilized town, it's got a church. And they even had this tall steeple on it, so, I mean, you could tell that was a church no matter what. That building, by the way, is still in existence. We have the present owners, the Hamiltons, right here in front doing the taping. They have that church, and they are saving that church. But just think of all the people along the way who helped save that church, too. It's along 3rd Street now. It's not along the railroad tracks anymore. That was moved in 1930, and it became first St. Mary's Church when they needed a church. They developed that after 1930. But it's been other things throughout the years. He was even, for Martin County, the probation office at one time. So, I mean, it's had many purposes. So that you can tell, yeah, that was a church. It's easy to tell by looking at it.
And one more video, it's Germany Paradise. That was her interview way back in 2000 in May when Martin County was doing their film regarding the history of Martin County in celebration of the anniversary. And Germany Paradise, she is a 4th generation of Walter and Emma Kitching, who donated the lot for original church.
They're sisters, Paradise Sisters.
Walter Kitching was from Leeds, England. He came to this country in 1867 after Lincoln was assassinated. His father was a stockbroker in London, and they had an office in New York City, and he was sent to New York City to help manage that office. Didn't stay there too long. He was adventuresome and took a wagon train out west and taught school to the Indians in Oklahoma for a stint, went to Texas for a while, and came to Florida and bought property from a government map in Gainesville, Florida. In this area, he bought several parcels in Martin County, and in 1883, he came down to see what he had purchased. My great-grandfather was Quaker. My great-grandmother was Methodist, very proper Methodist lady. And when she moved here and was expecting a child, there was not a church in this area, and she told her husband, I cannot raise a child in this area if there's not a church. They had 15 acres in downtown Stuart. They donated a lot to build the first Methodist church in the area, and that church was purposely put on that parcel of land, I am told, because it was right next to the railroad tracks. And they wanted the people coming through on the train to see that we at least had a church in this area, that we were not a barbaric community. Josephine Kitching, born in 1895, March 10th, 1895, in Potsdam, born on the river there, in the upstairs bedroom, as were 2 of her 3 children. She was an only child.
When we bought this building at the end of June 2019. And the first thing we did, we cleaned our attic, and we found the Episcopalian lancets in the attic. And Alice Lockhart, she told us way back then, that Robert and Olga, there behind these dry walls, there's the original historical beadboard. And we peeled some, it's like an onion, and there truly was, especially in 1895 section. And then we looked where in the attic, there was still original beadboard. We have been restoring the beadboard starting from where is our master bathroom, because we needed to homestead property and we needed a bathroom. So we applied for permit, but we already were restoring our beadboard. That's how original our beadboard was looking in our bathroom when we took the paneling off and there was drywall or paneling. We applied for permit for change use. David Plumbing did all the drawings and everything, and we got here's our bathroom drawing they did. So there no any confusion about bathroom. That was reviewed, approved, and we received, it took us a year because it was a COVID time, and we received our homestead and certificate of occupancy. And pretty much Robert designed the bathroom himself. We used our a little bit modern shower, but okay, this. That's a little bit. But we tried to use subway tile, and we discussed it with Alice Lockhart, and pretty much designed it close to 1930s, like it was St. Mary's. We applied for grant, and we saw it on the Facebook. It was way back somewhere in 21, 22, when the first ad on Facebook was. I will not look for that ad. And when we applied for the grant, we discussed the scope of work, and of course the best thing would be to have a new roof on our building and windows and some insulation. But we already have been working on insulating our walls except of the 1895 section, just in 1930 section will be. We had prior our inspection of our house before for the scope of work. Then prior to, after, I think that September, on September 17, you can see we have been working on our beadboard restoration. And insulating our in hallway where between and soundproofing our walls. That's where we had a Guardian Community Resource Management bringing contractors for rebidding. We received the scope of work somewhere after August when the paperwork was completed. And bidding contractors were brought. And that's pretty much everybody saw that we were restoring our beadboard, insulating walls. Then another inspection took place on March 21, 2024, when we signed it all out, on March 13, we signed all our CDBG documents, 3 sets of each for Guardian Community Resource Management, for us, and for the contractor. And on March 21, contractor came, And they saw we still like in restoration and everything, and we were insulating our walls and putting plywood as a backing for our beadboard. Pretty much we shared these all photographs and 900 files with Florida cameras, and here's our window. It still shows where we're covering plywood. And by historical rules, so the foam, we use foam, it's actually easily a removable one. But we did not want the foam touch the original studs in the building. That's we put that blocking, so that's where foam goes and does not touch by historical rules, not rules, but suggestion, it should not touch. So we did, and Robert continued to work on the restoration. That's how it was prior 17 when contractors came for bidding. Then on April 14, we had a building department review of the building as well. So we had a lot of inspection going on. It was due date on April 14, and everything was going on. Everybody knew we already removed our beadboard ceiling. For restoration. And that's original beadboard ceiling, and we stored it under the carport near our building, and our ceiling already was restored in hallways, and we had in our bathrooms and everything. So then we had on April 29 another inspections. So I'm not going, everybody knew we have been in the process of restoration, and work was ongoing. We did not ask anything more than the scope of work. We signed it on December 13, 2029. Way back before we even saw the scope of work, Guardian Community Resource Management Inc. sent us email. It was from Marina, I don't remember her name right now. And she sent us email and asked us about our building number. Robert and I, we knew our building was registered with the state of Florida. That was original owners gave us, and they were Millers. And that's only document we had at the time. It's a little bit difficult to go through this one for me. Yes, that was on February 28, 2023. And we sent that document with the number. After that, we did not hear anything until December 13, 2023, when we signed a bid with Patriot Response Group. So to get it much shorter, and we gave you the scope of work that actually based on original scope of work. We still don't have a roof reach vent system. After building department passed inspection, and we notified everyone that we do not have roof reach vent system, and we sent all these requests over and over for requests for inspection since August 4, 2024, that the roof reach vent system was not installed, and we provided, that's how we have our roof reach vent system. but the contractor Patriot Response Group, they sealed our roof ridge vent completely. They just kept it. We do not have it. And they put mesh. So we could not understand what's going on, why there's so much heat coming from the above, from the attic. So when I looked inside the attic, I saw the mesh, and I said, Robert, there's a mesh, there's supposed to be a vent system. So Robert and I, we went outside, we took clothes and took camera to take a picture, and Robert said, no, they kept it. I went into the attic, I put my hand inside, and there no air coming. So that pull a little bit mesh, no air, everything is completely sealed. And we notified the city, we asked for re-inspections again and again. There were no anywhere about roof ridge vent being installed. We notified the city after inspection of the building permit on the roof that there no submission, any specification on the roof ridge vent system. So this is all goes way back of 65 pages that we were asking for inspection, and in September we submitted our bid by Code Red Roof. And here in the scope of work, it says ridge vent system. So in the current scope of work to complete our project, of course, we included the roof ridge vent system that was not installed, but contractor unfortunately got paid for the work that was not performed. I will not go into the history probably of two-deck replacement and everything and leaks, and it's done. Unfortunate story with the windows. We did not know about any correspondence way back that Guardian and the city had with the State Historic Preservation Office. We learned about the State Historic Preservation Office letter on December 1st, 2023, only on November 22, 2024. And it was at one time, it was kind of a very happy news to hear that our building is potentially eligible for national historical historic places. But at the same time, looking at the work that was done after first installation that took place, that was from July 5 to 7. That's the first time when we actually saw the windows. Okay, probably here to put it. Yes. Let me, because according to the CDBG scope of work, the contractor was absolutely responsible for all the measurements and everything. And we did not see these windows until they arrived. And they opened the trailer. The contractor opened the trailer. We were told that everything goes to according to the building code, and we needed a large windows for whatever. Normal people, they just don't know these building codes, yeah? When you say them, yeah, there's a code, egress, you need some escape, and this and that. And we're like, in this situation, what we do now? And it was Friday, and they were left Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You cannot call building department, whatever, ask, nobody was answering. And we were promised everything would be the same. So after, I will not show like all these files, there are a lot of them, but when they proceeded, we were sitting as, in front of our yard. And then suddenly, yeah. No, I listed, like, yeah. Oh, okay. Oh. So the first installation, when they were doing it was absolutely painful to watch how they were doing. But as we were sitting in front yard, I didn't expect that program here. That's actually what they did. They removed our original trims and everything. I did dumpster diving. I was able to retrieve some of the original trims that were 4.5 inches and save one seal. We still have 2 original seals and everything, but they were already so much broken glass from the windows. But I was able to save the original windows as well. And we found later that they cut 4 inches of our wall on the back while we were sitting in the front room. That's how we found, what is that? Yeah. Don't you have just normal program? Windows 1? That's, without drawings. So they cut 4 inches of the wall on the back while we were sitting in the front, and one of the workers who came, who could speak English, he came to us and said, "Oh, Signore, I think we cannot cut wall." And we like, "What wall?" And there was a bathroom window, where on the bathroom window was our small on-demand water heater. And we were really upset with that. When Patriot Response Group finally came after weekend, and they taped all the windows. They looked at it, and they canceled it right away, building department inspection. They tape everything. And next day, they brought another crew. This is actually the gaps also was from the first crew when they did. That's how they installed the windows, with these gaps between windows and studs, and they removed some framing. And when I was taking picture, and if you look at this, all I saw, okay, doing these seals and everything, and I took behind, I see him working on the seals. I went back, I sit down. I could not expect they would cut completely the wall 4 inches of the place. Second crew was brought next day after all the windows were taped. I was a little bit kind of amazed to see among materials fence boards. They use that fence board for shims for windows. You cannot do it because they disintegrate very quickly. So the second crew, they proceeded with all the Windows installations, and still Windows did not pass the inspection. But what was amazing to find, when the second crew took out the windows when they were installed, this is what they saw. This is what the first crew did. This photo I took when the second crew took the windows out. And that's what they showed us. That was the first crew did. They completely cut 4 inches of wall along with framing, and they damaged studs on the side. I told the second crew, you cannot cut the walls anymore. Another window, when they were installing, and on some places they had to remove boards and everything. This is what actually screw goes right through the corner of the window. Right now, I don't know where this window with this hole in the corner, but you can imagine if water coming inside and everything, where it will all wind. When they open a window, another window, this is what they saw. They saw the board, less than inch board, just it was stuck to the paper. It was not even screwed properly, nowhere, under the large window. When they completed, that's what was there. That's disastrous work. That was the first installation of the windows. So when the second crew completed the windows, they still did not pass inspection, and windows were installed off center. 2. We have 3 windows off center because the wall where the framing and studs, they were installed off center. So we have 2 inches, and we have 3 or something inches. So different because the window installed off center, and you can see it does not correspond even with landsets. So all these windows have to be, of course, removed. And you cannot them reinstall, because if you want to center them, you have to cut wall on another side as well. And that will inflict more damages. That actually was confirmed by letter from Liberty Windows Impact and Door, when they stated that you contractor damaged your place very badly, and even headers and everything. And it was confirmed by structural engineer, and the State Historic Preservation Office also stated to mitigate adverse effects. Oh, sorry, yeah. To mitigate adverse effects to our building, because Robert and I, we would like to put our building here in Stuart on the, yes, not just our city map, but Florida map and actually federal map. So we have this place, because as you saw the video about kitchens, they are pioneers. This church was built by pioneers. It is an important piece of history. You all have the 2025 scope of work we gave. Also, I sent you all emails mentioning the Code of Federal Regulations, how we all can move forward and finally complete the project and install roof ridge vent system, and to reinstall finally windows as they're supposed to be, return our historical building back as it should be. And just to move forward. And by Code of Federal Rule Regulations, you can even go with non-competitive procurement in special circumstances. We have special circumstances here. First of all, it's historical building. We need a contractor who understands the historical materials, historical wood, and every detail. We found that contractor when we were told that we can choose our own contractor, and we found Mackey Renovations, and they proposed work on the building, including where was paint damaged on the building and everything, and restore our original stucco. And we have red roof, coat red roof to put the back our roof ridge vent system. But we would like to ask, as I wrote back in that email, instead of hurricane impact those, and I think it would be even less expensive to do. We would like include with Makis renovations, because they would agree to do it, to put a color ties on our roof and strengthens our roof for hurricane, our historical building. Just to change from the doors, hurricane doors, to the additional roof, like color ties. It's just pieces of wood between, rafters. And where the one rafter was broken or whatever, when it was done, we don't know. Was it done during first deck replacement, second deck replacement? Was it damaged? We don't know. But that's we only ask you. And we ask you to consider Makis renovations because they are local company. They had experience to work on historic buildings. And corporate roofers, they are also very well-known company here. And that's only we ask you to move forward with project. We cannot wait for the third hurricane season to restore. You have all these documents. You have all the emails. You have all the bids. So please let us finalize with Makis renovations. Please petition Florida Commerce according to the Code of Federal Regulations due to the circumstances. Let Hamiltons finish the project with this specific contractor who already knows building, who did all measurements, who spent not just 10 days, but probably 10 days, 10 hours. But a few days, they were meticulously measuring everything. And structural engineers, they met already with the structural engineer, per request of the structural engineer. They already met them. They discuss it. All drawings are ready. We don't need to go again through the engineer. We just can go and finish the building finally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor.
While you're there, Olga, as far as I can tell, there's like two pathways here. And I appreciate you being to the point and solution focused. To Olga's point, you would either have this special designation, which would bypass the regular procurement process, or I also see a pathway via having the RFP, when we go out to RFP, being very specific around historical. I don't know enough about this to speak intelligently, but exactly to what they're looking for towards more historic. So my questions are, in terms of special designation, this seems a little more obscure for me and a bit of a Hail Mary. I'm curious if, Lee, if you have experience with this, Mike, you have experience with this, what that time frame might look like, because they're talking about hurricane season and the roof not being safe.
I don't believe that we have authority for special designation. We've been speaking with Florida Commerce. The procurement policy we're following is the Florida Commerce procurement. The procurement policy we're following is the Florida Commerce policy.
Yes.
But if I can explain it to you, Florida Commerce has already said that they would make an.
Mrs.
Can we
Hamilton, would
finish?
you like to respond to his question?
Yes, I would like to finish before Mrs. Moore, with all due respect.
Sure. Okay, forgive me.
I thought they were finished. I didn't realize.
Forgive me, I'm sorry.
Okay, I thought they were finished.
thought we were done.
Sorry.
It's not bypassing, I'm sorry, Robert Hamilton. Good evening, and thank you for taking the time and the patience. Olga's put a lot of time into this. We're not trying to bypass. It is been part of the procurement. And Attorney Brennan, who is my sister, will get up and speak about that. We're not trying to bypass it. It was created this subsection in there if an event like this happens. It doesn't say our particular event, but they put that language in there so if something happens. And what's really more important that lends the greater weight of the evidence to that is for the fact that McKee sent the stuff to the State Historic Preservation Office with the diagrams. They approved it. Commerce approved it. The city had no problem. Mr. Mortel put in there that the city feels comfortable. Commerce feels comfortable. McKee feels comfortable. We trust McKee. It took us a long time to find him. Mr. Mortel can explain that. It took us a lot. Nobody wanted to touch the building after what had been done. So this isn't bypassing anything. This is just a matter of another tool that we can go forward to resolve it. And his prices are very reasonable. He understands and has worked on historical buildings. I didn't mean to take away from Olga or interrupt you, Mr. Mortel. This is a real section that we can go forward and all the acrimony can stop.
But and not to interrupt you, but does anybody have experience with going this route? We're doing this.
Go ahead. I contacted Florida Commerce last Tuesday, told them about this presentation, and was suggesting and talking about the McKee issue in the scope of service. They said that it has to go through that procurement process. But if I can explain, our procurement is different. When we do a procurement, you go out to bid, and it's the sealed bid process, and we must select the lowest bid. So when you open the bid, whoever's the lowest, that's who you get in ours. In the CDBG project, the Florida Commerce has a list of approved contractors that get to bid on the projects. We've contacted them and they've agreed to allow McKee to be an approved contractor to bid on the project. Then there's a process where the bids are all submitted and there's a scope of services of if it's too high or too low, and I don't know what the numbers are, the outliers are removed, and then the rest of the bids are presented to the homeowner, and the homeowner is not required to select the lowest bidder. So what we've been proposing all along is that when they gave us the McKee bid, we agreed to use it. We said, great, let's use the McKee bid, and Ms. Gandhi Savdes took McKee's name off of it and took their prices off of it and created the scope of services for everybody to sign, and then the Hamiltons were angry at us for taking McKee's stuff off of it and didn't want to go through that procurement process, and that's what got us here. What we were trying to do is say, sure, we'll use that bid. There's a couple of nuances as it relates to, you saw the pictures from Mrs. Hamilton where the ceilings were removed. That the ceiling was not something that was in the original scope of services. But in the scope of services that we proposed to the Hamiltons before the McKee bid in March, the city had agreed to attempt to replace the ceilings as long as SHPO agreed with it, and a couple of other items. And we still feel that way.
I don't think anybody wants to go back to the original scope.
Well, we have
With regard to procurement.
The scope of services is roof, doors, windows, and insulation.
But we're talking about having them sign the current scope.
The current scope that was done by McKee was still roof, doors, windows, and insulation.
So we're talking about a new scope?
It's just who's going to finish it, who's going to take these windows out and replace them. It's a different job than it was before because, like, for example, there's a roof on the house now.
So you're saying we need a new scope beyond even what McKee provided?
Well, I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining the process, but Florida Commerce doesn't award money. They award a scope of services. So if you applied to have 2 windows put in and you got 2 windows, that doesn't mean you have $75,000 left to spend on other stuff. It means you get 2 windows. And in this case, when the Hamiltons selected the bid that they selected that was $58,000 versus the other bid that was $65,000, it didn't mean they had the balance left to spend on other items. So what was awarded to them was to replace the roof, the windows, the doors, and spray and insulation. That's still awarded to them. We've been working with them to try and sign off on a scope of services to that effect.
Okay.
We prepared one in March. They said they wanted to have their own prepared. They had McKee prepare it.
Yes.
When we received it, we said, it's a little different than ours, but we said, okay.
Yes.
And we said, we'll sign this one. And we will still, right now, we'll all sign it and submit it to Florida Commerce. We're ready to go. All they have to do is sign it. We've been waiting for them since roughly
But it's
July.
because they want McKee to do the work.
Well,
So what is the,
McKee can bid on it, and then if McKee's bid is within the scope of what Florida Commerce will cover, then even if McKee's the highest bidder, they can still select McKee.
so it's possible that that could come back to them and they could have McKee as
Absolutely.
an option?
They were told they could use their own contractor, though.
I don't there was a representative from Florida Commerce,
That mentioned that.
Mr. Markarian, that Graham is his first name, at one point said something about using their own contractor. However, when I've talked to his supervisor and to others at Florida Commerce, he was wrong.
So when you were telling the Hamiltons at our board meetings that was coming from Graham,
I've never, ever told you that we've ever had any authority to pick anything. We can't tell them. The only thing we did is we told them they could pick their own structural engineer because that was below $5,000, didn't fall into the procurement rules, and as a result, we didn't care who they picked. They could pick anybody they wanted. As it related to McKee, I have it with me here, and the Guardian representative is here. What happened is in March, we prepared a new scope of services to fix and replace the windows, and I say we, Guardian, and within the confines of the Florida Commerce program, submitted it to the Hamiltons, and they said, no, we don't want to use your scope of services. We want to get our own contractor to do our own scope of services. And so in response to that all along, we kept saying, great, get your own contractor, get your own contractor. Now, we should have been more clear about it, that you requesting a second opinion doesn't mean that you get carte blanche on whatever they want to charge and whatever they want to do. We still had to comply, and I don't want to pull out all the rules and regulations, but just like we have to comply with them, the Hamiltons too have to comply with them. It's the procurement process for the CDBG grants. It's not our procurement process, it's theirs, and it's a system that they follow. If in fact Florida Commerce said they could pick their own, honestly, we wouldn't step in the way of it. It just would violate the grant because it would allow people to, McKee could say, okay, and I'm not saying McKee would, but they could say, okay, well, it's a $10 million job now. Now, obviously, they would never, they're not going to do that, but there is no way to competitively bid it if the homeowner can just go pick whoever they want.
but that's what they were told.
I don't know if that's exactly what they were told or not. I read the letter from Mr. Markarian, and the last sentence references picking your own contractor, but I was on several of the conference calls. We prepared the scope of services, presented it to them, and they said, no, we want to get our own contractor to do a scope of
The
services.
city had told them to go get their own contractor.
No, we didn't. We
I think-
prepared the scope of
I
services.
think we're going to get in the mud going
Right,
by
I don't
that.
want to get lost in the weeds on
In
who
terms
said
of
what.
solutions at this point,
Can-
you're saying that they will have the ability to pick McKee
If they-
once those bids come back.
If they're,
Correct?
so
Would
you
that
may want to hear.
satisfy,
you may
that
wanna-
way it's still a competitive process?
You may
they
want to
can
hear from
bid on it
Mr.
and they can
Jenkins.
pick.
You may want to hear from Mr. Jenkins just on the nuance of how that process works.
Okay,
Can I-
fair enough, no.
Okay.
Then,
Can I just ask a question?
Mrs. Hamilton would like to continue
Yes,
the presentation.
please.
Can-
We have been, one moment.
Mr. Mortel, thank you.
1 second.
Please pull up the email or whatever you had. Again, we're trying to get it resolved. So this isn't a finger pointing. We have multiple emails where the city feels comfortable, Commerce felt comfortable, SHPO approved. Now, I don't care what happened in Tallahassee. Now we got finger pointing going on up there. I know I have the city of Stuart wrote us multiple times, and Olga has them, can put them right on the screen. The city's requesting you obtain new window installation. That's not what I was looking for. The city is the one who requested us to pick the engineers to to come in and look at the building. So we selected 3, gave them to Mr. Mortel. The city picked who they want. We didn't care. They came in, they made their report. The city says in multiple emails, we want you to hire your own contractor. We feel comfortable with having your own. It's detailed in the emails from the city. That's a binding contract to us. So they agree to that. We agree to it. Commerce agrees to it. And again, we're not trying to side skirt anything. That subsection in there is put in there for a reason just like this. It's a federal rule, federal law, that if you have this situation going on and there's an issue, here's what you can do to resolve it. And
But if we're telling you tonight, right? No
I'm sorry,
finger point-
sir?
If we're telling you tonight, no finger pointing, that was a misunderstanding, and the city is not comfortable, can't, with the way that this program is set up, just have you use a contractor. We're saying that the misunderstanding was around. The misunderstanding was around.
So there is some nuances, like I mentioned, as it relates to the lead paint into the ceiling that we need to tweak, but as it relates to the scope of work, we are not in dispute. That is not an issue. We're agreeable to it.
It's the contractor.
So
right?
why don't we sign on the scope of work, submit it to
Which
Florida
scope of
Commerce,
work?
the
I
one
just
from
wanna ask.
McKee.
The new one, yeah.
The one from McKee, we've been in agreement
Okay.
since the beginning. He's right, that's never been an issue. Sign the scope of work, submit it to Florida Commerce, submit it to SHPO, get it all approved, go out to bid. And if McKee...
Can I ask one?
And if McKee gets...
Okay, one moment. McKee renovation is not roofers.
Right, but
The
we'll
roof
address that.
reach should be
just finish.
installed by corporate roofers.
We'll address that first. Let's
Yes.
get this addressed,
We,
okay?
do not deprive us of roof reach.
No, we're not, we're trying to get one issue done first.
Let it go out to bid, and then if McKee submits their bid and they qualify, none of this issue even needs to get resolved because the Hamiltons get to just say, I pick McKee. On the other hand, if they don't qualify for some reason or another, that's the time that the Hamiltons can raise this issue and address it then and say, and I said, reserve the right to do it, whatever you want to do. I have no problem with that. But it could be that we're arguing over something that doesn't actually happen. It could be that McKee makes it and is on the bid, is ready to go, and they meet all the criteria, and they select him, and we're done, and it's over with. So,
Okay, Mr. Okay, I want to just first ask the city manager speaking, and I want to question, and I've waited patiently.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I?
Would you want to speak with Mrs.
Yes.
Hamilton?
I want to speak to the city manager.
Okay.
Okay, just to answer some things. Okay, so what we're trying to do is certainly move forward here. And you're saying that we could go out for a bid of service. I think the first initial problem with the RFP is that it really needs to go to contractors who work on historic homes. There obviously was an issue before because the people who put in the windows weren't aware of what was supposed to be or not be for historic windows. So I think that that's the first line of doing another RFP. It can only go out to it can't go out to every contractor who's willing to bid.
we don't have the control over who the contractors are, but it says it in the scope of work. It's already in it. The one we prepared in March had the exact same language as related to the historic structure, and I could pull it up and read it to you. Again, I don't know that we need to waste the time.
Okay, no, we
but
don't, because this new
dispute
scope
that.
of work says the same thing.
Right, we
that
don't
it would be in the
dispute that.
guidelines of rehabilitating historic
Right,
buildings.
right. So we don't-
Okay,
that's not an
so
issue to us.
The second issue is for the Hamiltons who've gone back and forth, is that if we offer this to them, then I think that they would like something in writing from the city that says, yes, you have the ability, if this RFP comes back and you don't like the other contractors and McKee is eligible, that you can select him, even if he isn't the lowest bidder.
I don't have any problem with that. I think that's what Mr. Jenkins is getting ready to tell you the story of.
Okay, but I'm more than willing to, I just want to have some dialogue with you.
We've already asked them when those documents are available to be signed now. We've done that before. The first time that it went out to bid, We agreed on the scope of services, both signed it, it went out to bid. There were 2 bids. The Hamiltons got to pick whichever one they wanted. They picked the Patriot one, and it moved forward. It didn't work out. And we said, okay, let's fix this. Last October, we said, great, let's fix it. Let's go there.
Right,
And
2 more issues to fix. The next would be is the roofers, okay? Because I understand that Mr. McKee is not a roofer. But he can, as you also did, use Red Code roofers as a subcontractor. Okay, so that's something that can be in there.
It's part of the bid.
It's up to
That's
him.
whatever they
Well,
say.
it would be part of the bid, but including the fact that whatever the Code Red roofers
I
are.
can't tell McKee to bid with Code Red roofers. That's called a kickback.
Well, he
That's
would
me
have to have the
price
monies
fixing.
available in that, what's offered to him to be able to go out to get a subcontractor.
The money is not the issue. The scope of services has been approved by Florida Commerce. So getting the roof repaired, the sill plate or whatever it is, the vent plate, getting the windows replaced, Florida Commerce has agreed to go back out to bid to that.
Okay.
So
Now,
it's not a question of us saying you have $12 left or you have $12,000 left. It's not a money thing.
We can
It's
figure
an
that out.
The
award
third
of
piece, though, is a money thing.
project. What?
Okay, the third piece is a money thing.
Well-
Okay, and that basically refers to the fact that, because I think you mentioned, and I heard you correctly, to say that it would be a new charge for replacing the windows, redoing the windows, but basically, we've paid a contractor, and CBG contract does allow for not paying for incomplete work, so the roof was never done, they were paid for it, that's a fee that needs to be crawled back. There was also an issue where the CBG grant allows people, allows the city or to be able to not pay for damaged or subpar work. So if those 2 items exist under the CBG grant, that needs to go back into the monies that are available to the Hamiltons.
The Hamiltons have never been told that their scope of work is beyond the money available. What happened is when the Hamiltons started saying that they wanted an air conditioning system installed in above and beyond the roof, the windows, the wall, the doors, and the insulation, that's when we said that's outside of the scope of
we're getting
work.
mud.
But it's not the money.
In the mud.
We're getting in the mud.
It's not that's not the issue. The issue, the Florida Commerce has already
Well, there were
said.
verbal things
Right.
said to the Hamiltons, from what I understand, because the air conditioning died and the project had already started. And they were
Excuse me, may I comment on this one? Isn't allocated on our project as in September 3rd, 2024, Ms. Gandhi served the state to not to exceed $80,000. So we had 57 with McKee's renovation. We had leftovers after bid, and that's left rest of the fund. We were thinking on using on mini splits. That's why we were collecting on mini splits that were left over 20,000 on the mini splits. So if everything would go nicely with windows and roof retrench system and roof, if you calculate and 80,000 minus 57 bid, that even Eula Clark, when she was mayor, commented on the video back then. Every house was allocated up to 80,000 on rehabilitation.
Okay, so now let's
figure
hear
out
what
the
you have to
money
say.
later.
Okay,
We can
let's
figure
hear
out the
from
money
city
later,
manager
the
about the
scope,
monies.
yeah, the scope and who's
All
going to do it.
9 recipients were awarded scope of work.
Yes.
In that scope of work, there may be change orders, they may be not, but it's a scope of work, and it can't exceed $80,000. Mrs. McBride was here before and said she was one of the participants. She received a little bit over $50,000. That doesn't mean she has $28,000 left to go do other stuff.
We understand.
She has just the scope of service.
But we're talking about the monies that have already been spent out of that
No,
8,000.
we're not.
Not the reverse.
They're being treated at zero. Their scope of service is the roof, the windows, the doors, and the insulation. The going out to bid is the roof, the windows, the doors, and the insulation. The problem is when they start saying, well, if what happened in this case is with Patriot, they were under the impression that if Patriot saved money on items, there'd be money left over for other stuff.
Well, obviously, someone gave them that impression.
And
But
again,
that's
whatever
neither here nor
happened,
there.
we've got to be
But-
very clear on that.
Right.
There's
Right.
documentation about it as well. In the future, we will make people sign it in blood, because there's no doubt that it's a scope of services, not an amount, but it can't exceed 80,000. So you can't come in and say, I want a scope of services of $300,000. You come in with a scope of about 65 to 70. If there's some change orders, there's enough room to cover those change orders and still finish it under 80. Every single project we had finished under 70, and none of them get to go and spend the rest on additional stuff.
Okay, and I understand that, but then I want to go back to what you said. What you're offering now to the Hamiltons is that if their approval of that scope of work and we move forward, that they are working on the full boat of the 80,000.
It's not about the money, it's about the scope of service.
Right, I understand
It's not about
that.
the money.
Yeah, what we said is, we
I know,
would
but I'm
take-
asking the city manager to clarify what he just said.
What the city said to them is, here's our scope of service. They said, no, we want to get our own contractor to do our own scope of service. They went out and got McKee to do their own scope of service. We then received that contract, or that document, and the city said, there's some nuances in it. We have a couple discussion, but generally speaking, we are fine to submit this to Florida Commerce and to have this move forward and have them allow it to go forward. I am not telling you that Florida Commerce is going to punch it and pay it.
Let's say
but
that they
we're
do.
not objecting to it, and if they
That's
do,
fine.
then it's done. We don't care.
Okay, but at some point,
Right.
money is the issue, and I know it's
Well-
not about the
well,
money,
except
but if
for-
the scope of
no.
if the scope of work is approved,
If I can explain to you what was happening, Florida Commerce instructed us to pay for that roof work and said we had to pay it. The Hamiltons are taking the position, but to fix that sill plate is not $50,000. It's a couple $1,000s. You're going to change out the venting because it has a Cobra vent in it. They're just going to change out literally some sealant at the top. Hamiltons were taking the position of, well, if you take the $48,000 for the roof off, because we'll just cut that hole for the vent, we get another $48,000 that we can spend on other stuff.
right. I
And we've
think
been
that's
saying
been
you
made
can't
clear
do
that there's no extra
But-
money
right,
for things. I think
right.
that's been made clear.
So we're fine with, it's not going back to zero. There is no
But that is what you
zero.
just said.
I said there isn't a cost. It's a scope of services. I'm saying that Florida Commerce believes that changing out the windows, repairing whatever vent is related to their roof, fixing their doors, painting the outside of the house, replacing their ceilings, replacing soffits, painting the fascia, would all be covered.
And until you hear back from them, you don't know otherwise.
Until we
That's why
agree
it's
on
not
the
time for
submittal
money
and
yet.
sent it to them, we
then we
can't
can
do
figure it
anything. We're
out.
dead in the water. That's exactly right.
But at this point,
I'm sorry, could we allow Board Member
Yes.
Breckbill to?
No problem.
Excuse me, as a part of our presentation, I invite Honorable Shirley Brennan.
What?
Oh, yes, we did know that the Mr. Hamilton's sister was going to.
Hello.
Okay, I'm just going to allow Board Member Breckbill to ask questions here.
Pardon me?
Thank you.
As other board members.
Yeah, thank you. I just,
Sorry, Mark.
you know,
You can wait right there.
we've been dealing with this for a long, long time, and this, I think, just needs to be solved. And I think we need to keep in mind we are talking about a historic building. So, it's not covered under the National Registry, which is fine, but it is under our code, it's a historic building, right?
State of Florida.
And under the city. So, first of all, I think that the solution that we have on the table is a good one. Everybody's in agreement on this at this point in terms of scope of service. Not talking about money, we're talking about scope of service. But I think that it also is something that, having gone through the restoration process myself, it's a completely different form of construction than a grant to just put on new windows and doors and that kind of stuff. And I will say that, and it's a more detailed, it's a more expensive process. And so I think ultimately that regardless of, hopefully we can get this resolved, that at some point we need to do two things. One, I think we need to have some form of grant available in the city. Doesn't have to cover everything, but for historic restoration. We need a historic restoration grant. I wouldn't have a problem if we put it in place for this one right here with in case this thing doesn't work. But the second thing is that I just want to mention that the CDBG grants,
In the future.
they have been a problem all the way through this thing. And the city doesn't have enough control of this process for us to take responsibility for it. So at some point, the city has to decide, are we going to continue to do these CDBG grants?
And oversee them properly.
And that's it.
That's
So-
an issue for the future,
Right,
Commissioner.
But I think we got an answer on the floor if we just agree to it.
Good afternoon, ladies
afternoon.
and gentlemen of this city commission. I'm Shirley Brennan Schlemmer. I'm a retired judge of this 19th Judicial Circuit and an attorney of 30 years.
Could you
In
bring
the-
the microphone a little bit closer to your mouth?
Okay,
We have a
can you
lot of
hear me?
noise outdoors.
Sorry.
Thank you.
In the course of my career, I have always sought to find truth and to do justice, without regard to position, wealth, or friendship. And I know that you all will do the same. I've read all of the documents in this case. There are many errors, disingenuous statements, and unreasonable delay. To determine the facts and the credibility of those speaking before you, you must look to the independent, unbiased persons without an interest in the outcome. And that is the engineer in this case. He's the one that fits the bill. He told you what the damages were and how to repair them. Patriot and Guardian have a financial interest. The city manager has an obvious animosity to the Hamiltons. The Hamiltons want their historical home fixed without further delay. In October of 2024, Florida Commerce sent a letter, which I read, that said that the roof was non-compliant with historical standards. They did not approve the case being closed on the roof.
Windows.
They did not authorize the payment to Patriot, but the city manager did so anyway. SHPO also wrote a letter on November 18th of 24 that the completed work again did not conform, and that, in fact, the property suffered an adverse effect as a result of the work that Patriot did. That is exactly why Robert and Olga Hamilton do not want Patriot involved again, even if they bid 5 cents. They were to do 2 projects. They damaged both of those projects. They were done improperly and amateurish, according to the engineer. On March 27th, as everybody stated, all had agreed to the McKee report. Robert and Olga were led to believe by the city manager that they could pick McKee as the contractor. And now, September 2025, 6 months later, don't forget this started in 2023. We're in 2025. So 6 months after he told them they could use this fella, he says, no, we need to open these bids again, which is going to put this project, I'd say, 2.5 to 3 years before it's finished. And I think you've already determined the scope of the work based on the engineer's report. It sets forth everything in great detail of the work to be done. And McKee bid to do that work, and everyone accepted it. And Code Red's bid was also reasonable. Robert and Olga are asking this commission to follow Federal Code 200.320C4 and request a non-competitive procurement. In this case, if any, the book was written for. This case is what this law was written for. It's warranted because the project delay has been over a year. The damages must be fixed by someone with historical skills. McKee has the skills. His work has been accepted by all. There are no other historical contractors in the area besides McKee that are willing to take a small project like this. I believe the Hamiltons searched for other contractors and could not find them. Robert and Olga, you know, the most important thing about this whole thing, if you do the non-competitive procurement, is that this will be finished without any further delay. Robert and Olga just want their historical home fixed. They do not want a $1 million lawsuit against the city, Patriot, or Guardian. So I'm asking you board members to exercise your authority to request a non-competitive procurement. And I thank you for your time.
Let me finish and
Okay, hold on.
you move. Mr. Mortel stated we have Cobra vent system. We have been asking for inspection and reopen roof and inspect, and we were telling we do not have any vent system. How that Cobra roof rich vent system suddenly appeared on our roof? I would like to know. There were no inspection. Our all requests were denied by Mr. Mortel. Recently, Mr. Mortel sent an email telling commissioners and to us that we have already 3 doors completed in his recent email. So we have already roof reach vent and 3 doors. Yes, I requested records again, and I will be again and again. If not, I will use specific companies and everything to get these records who approved Cobra roof reach vent system when it was installed, because we do not have. But we have Mr. Mortel falsely stating over and over, we have roof reach vent system and now it's Cobra. We do not have any roof reach vent system on our roof, and it can be confirmed. It can be confirmed by Commissioner Reid, who looked at the roof. It's kept. There no air coming in the attic. And now Mr. Mortel implied we have 3
Okay,
doors already completed.
excuse me, I'm going to echo the remarks
I'm
of the
sorry.
Vice Mayor.
I
Please
am
do
sorry,
not
we have
be
to- we
accusing
have to
staff
finish.
of,
It's okay. I'm almost done. I'm almost done.
Okay.
But after this meeting, of course, I will have to write another email, another request for reinspection. So we need to establish what kind of Cobra roof reach system there. This is the first time we heard from the city manager about Cobra roof reach vent system. We never ask for beadboard ceiling or any new walls or anything, because we are restoring our historical own beadboard. We don't need it. All we asked since July 2024, since August when we found, please, roof reach vent system, please open the roof, please complete the roof. And we denied and denied and denied. So thank you. Maybe we can move forward. Maybe we can use this is way out that is given to us by Code of Federal Regulations.
Okay.
okay.
Can,
Mr. and Mrs. Hamilton, do you have any other people you would like to speak with regard to your issue?
You should read that.
Just to wrap it up real quick and easy. You know,
It's hard to hear.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't have an axe to grind. As people who know me in this community for 25 years, one, and don't anybody take this, I am not afraid to walk in that courtroom. But I'm not here for that. I have no axe to grind with him. What's wrong is wrong and what's right is right. Let's just get it worked out. Let's get it resolved. If we can take advantage of a federal law, rule, code, let's just do it and move on. I like Mr. Breckbell's suggestion. Maybe in the future, that could be done. And remember this, the city gets extra points on a historical building, big time. I'm sure he knows this. When we met, everything was fine. We got along real good. He was very personable. And when the air conditioner died, I did call him and say, hey, it died. Will there be any extra money? And he says, I can get you up to 80,000 or whatever. I don't, he'll remember. I didn't ask the contractor. I went out and got bids from the original people who put the air conditioning in, because I teased them and said, we only got 20 years out of this. What's wrong with a train? They laughed. They're a local company. I did the research. Mini splits is what they want you to use in historical buildings because it's inside the envelope. other stuff that should have been used, pressure-treated wood on the roof that twists, dries. Again, we just want to get it resolved. Everybody can go away happy. He can go away happy. He'll still get his credit. HUD and OIG, they will not close this file out. That comes above Commerce. And without getting into the weeds, Commerce is under investigation by HUD. I'm not going to disseminate or discuss what's going on with the federal investigators, Olga and I. I want to get it resolved. That's their dogfight between them and Commerce that unfortunately it trickles down to Mr. Mortel. So then we're all at odds, and they're all sitting up there laughing. It's not a funny joke when it's our home. So we'd like to get it resolved. And if plausible, let's utilize the law. Not in a nefarious way. Judge Brennan is right. Let's just utilize it. Maybe Mr. Jenkins will agree with that. Maybe he won't. We might have a disagreement. We just want our home fixed. I thank you for your time. The other people with us, I'm sure you understand, they'll echo a lot of what we said, because they're people of the community. They're people that have been here, like Deborah Harsh from Francis Langford back in the day. All we want is our little church fixed. Mr. Breckbill knows me. He's watched me on that building from the time I moved in there. It didn't cause no trouble in the hood. Didn't cause no trouble. In fact, we have friends with all the AT&T guys. Lindsay Breckbill, my neighbor, never had a crossword with her. We all get along in there. That man's watched me work on that place, sand it and clean it. Again, we're not trying to get over on anybody here. We're not trying to get extra. I appreciate what Mr. Mortel said about the beadboard. I don't need nobody touching it, to be honest with you. I'm not being smart. I don't want nobody touching that beadboard. I've been at it for 4.5 years, and you got to know what you're doing when you mess with it. I don't want that in production work. So with that said, I know you want to move on, sir. I appreciate you taking the time to get this worked out, and the rest of you. So, Olga, if you're done, I think Mr. Jenkins
I
wants to
think
say
you should
something.
probably both stay there, because I'm pretty sure Board Member Reed has questions for you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have one, too.
I do. For clarification purposes, Lee, can we do a non-competitive bid according to that federal?
I've brought it up as to what it says, okay? Just because we've never used it doesn't mean we can't.
Are we able to? Yes.
I've not reviewed the regulation that was cited, and I'll have to do some
fine.
research. But a week or two ago, we received an email from the Commerce Department that we have to go out for competitive bid. And it may be a non-issue. If McKee bids, and they might be the only bidder. They might be the only bidder. And this is all for nothing. If there's one of 3 bidders, the Hamiltons should just select McKee, even if they're the highest bid. So this is, I think we're putting the cart before the horse at this point. We've agreed on a scope of work. That's all the Commerce Department wanted us to do. It seems like we finally reached that. Let's go forward with it.
And the scope of work is between the original scope of work.
It's the McKee's scope
Well, the
of
only
work.
thing that McKee is missing is the roof ridge vent.
And insulation.
Hang on, Olga. So between the original scope of services and McKee, that will solve their issues. Send it out for bid, I guess, RFP-wise, and just specific historical preferred, I guess, historical knowledge or for restoration purposes, and that should take care of it.
I assume, and maybe
Unless
Mr. Jenkins can
Antonio knows otherwise.
and talk about the ridge vent.
Well, the building, the issue with the ridge vent is when Mr. Martell references a Cobra-style ridge vent.
Sir, could you introduce yourself,
I'm
please?
Antonio Jenkins with Guardian CRM. I am the city grant consultant. Ms. Dawn Cobb is also with me. The issue we have with the roof is past the building department inspection. And it has what they call a Cobra-style ridge vent. It means it sits flat and it has that mesh in between it and it filters the air out that way. What we're looking for is a raised ridge vent. And I don't think we have any objection to putting that raised ridge vent on the home at this particular point as an agreed upon part of the scope of work.
So with the ridge vent that's in there, it can filter it, but then when you have your cap, is that cap sealed?
Yeah, that cap, there's a little bit of a space in between the.
It's not sealed, it's not.
So it's not fully sealed. It's not fully sealed.
What do you mean by that? Like it just
By
sits
that
there,
means
the
the air filtrates through the mesh and up and down the ridge vent, and in the little bit of space in between it, it seeps out is the best way to put it. It is not quite as efficient as heat exchange as a raised ridge vent, but it is a code-approved
Yeah,
system.
because like it meets obviously the ridge vent, it meets it, and you have that gap where you put the foam in, but if it's capped on the exterior, it wouldn't really.
We don't, it's not in dispute.
We're going to put in a raised ridge vent at this point. So it's not something that.
We just need a motion from the board between the original scope of services to.
I would like to know where's the space, where's the air coming?
Well, the air comes in the mesh.
Correct.
Hold on, what?
But it's sealed.
Mr. Jenkins is speaking, okay? Ms. Hamilton?
Yeah, it's, the air exchange is in
Answering
between
questions
the
from
mesh
Board Member Reed.
and the space in between. It's not a solid space between the cap, which is the metal part that sits on top, and then you have an open space where your decking, your two pieces of wood come
That'll
together.
be open then.
Correct, it's open.
Okay, it
It's
will
just
be.
filled with mesh there.
Okay.
And that's a breathable mesh.
So what is that white stuff then?
Before we go down the whole path of the
Where white
presentation
stuff?
and the whole engineering report, we'd be better off just agreeing
Yes.
that we'll put a raised
what
ridge
is-
vent in.
The
and
s-
whatever that
The
is or
scope of
isn't,
work
it doesn't
includes the
matter.
raised ridge.
I have no idea what that is from that photo.
Neither do I, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is from the photo.
Can I ask Mr. Jenkins a question? You mentioned just prior to that it isn't the optimum, and I would think for historical restoration, the optimum is what we would want. So what would be the optimum, and to address that in the scope of work that we're adding to right now?
Historic-wise, raised ridge vent or Cobra ridge vent won't really make a difference. We've already got the approval with the Cobra ridge vent. SHPO, State Housing Historic Preservation Office, has said that this roof, as it currently exists, meets the historical standard. But again, what we're going to do is, now that we have an agreed-upon scope of work, we don't want to kind of fight that battle. Let's just go ahead and agree to add in the raised ridge vent, because it's the preference for the Hamiltons for efficiency wise, for longevity of the material that's in the attic.
Is that what it had prior? So we're going same for same?
You're going to, it wasn't quite a raised ridge vent, it was more of a ridge cap vent, but it was more breathable than what we currently have.
Okay.
So
But
it's-
can we not have the more breathable ridge vent?
You can have what's on there now. It is past the scope of work, past the building department inspection.
We
Well, I
agree
don't-
on the scope of services.
Yeah,
We're
why-
debating the scope of services.
Right.
We're already
Yeah, we
past.
don't need to. We
It's
agreed
not
that
in
we're going to
dispute.
change it to a ridge vent.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an issue.
Well, it's an issue if the Hamiltons aren't going to agree to that scope of work.
Well, you all want the raised ridge
They
vent,
were the
correct?
ones that
I would
proposed
like to
it, so just-
respond. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Olga, could you pull that photograph back up, please, Mr. Jenkins?
We requested inspection of documents. There were no specifications in the building department on roof ridge vent.
Please just pull up the phone.
Mr. Hutton is here.
Okay.
We do not have any specifications.
Okay, Olga.
No moment. Mr. Jenkins. This is, Olga, can you zoom out a little bit? It's killing me here. There you go. Okay, looking up from the attic, this is a mess Mr. Jenkins is talking about. This is the cutout, and this is a cap. This is no vent whatsoever. The original roof had a raised ridge vent that's got thousands and thousands of tiny holes.
Perforations in it, correct.
Doesn't let a mosquito go in. And that's, you see right here, Olga took this out, we crawled up there and took this photograph. That's the crack of light that seeps in. There is no way on God's green earth that could ever ventilate that building properly.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I just said that it's not optimal. So I think.
okay.
So this will be
Is
fixed with
the raised roof vent
Vent is
included
what
in
we're
the
gonna put
scope
in.
of services?
And the original roof.
Please stop. No,
Okay.
both of you,
I know, but
please
we're
stop.
trying
We're
to get
past-
to
All right,
where this
let's
works
move
for
to the
everybody.
procurement portion of it.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, your housing assistance plan outlays the way your projects have to be bid. That's your policy. So your policy is not going to allow you for that exemption. Without changing the policy, you're going to have to go through the Commerce-approved RFP process or to get those bids. Now, if you wanted to use that exemption, you could change the policy, but that's going to take just as long as going out to bid and getting a new bid in.
And when you look at,
Also expose us to having to reopen the other people, because everybody has to be treated equally.
Yes.
And so then we have to start getting into everybody's being reopened, and everybody gets an option to do all these other things.
Madam,
So-
you may not just
so
come
right
up
now-
to the dais. You may not do that.
So right now, you would follow your housing assistance plan and go out to bid. That scope of work will have what they call a cost estimate generated by us in-house. And as long as the contractors is within plus or minus 15%, any of the bidding contractors. You can't restrict it to just historic contractors. You have to place it out, and those contractors can bid on the project. Now, the Hamiltons do get to choose that contractor. In this case, let's just say McKee. Let's say you have 5 bids, and McKee is outside of that plus or minus 15% cost estimate. The Hamiltons still get to choose McKee. We just have to come before you to get approval that they can accept McKee as their contractor.
Correct.
And as it relates to the roof, how that would work is the Hamiltons would have McKee, and they would say, hey, Mr. McKee, I'm assuming that's his name, we would like to use Code Red Roofing to have you install the ridge vent.
Yes.
So they would do that, and Code Red Roofing would be a subcontractor to McKee.
Correct.
I am presuming that if the Hamiltons chose Code Red, they chose McKee and brought it before City Council, that you all would probably be inclined, given the situation, to approve it.
Correct.
So you would have to go through that process or change your local policy.
And now within the non-competitive procurement rules, okay? Number 4, there's 5 criteria by which you could go this path. Number 4 is that the recipient or sub-recipient requests in writing to use a non-competitive procurement method. But 5 is, Robert, the 5th option is, after soliciting several sources, the competition is inadequate.
There's
So if we
also
do
number
not
2.
end up with McKee in this group, right, and they don't even bid, and we determine that the competition for your bid is inadequate,
No, Mr.
then
just
you
to
have the opportunity.
clarify, Each of these singly qualifies you.
Correct.
You don't
Yes.
have to, all 5 don't.
No.
Yeah, only one.
But these are, we're just.
Number 4.
If we find that competitively, there's not somebody there that can do what you need done, then you can go this non-competitive route.
You would have to get permission from Commerce, but
So
keep in mind, your contract is still with Florida Commerce,
So
it is not with HUD.
if we go this right, if we sign the scope of services, we can get started now,
Yes,
moving forward. And McKee can be one of those people that you can select.
absolutely,
And if you cannot find a competitive person within that process, now you can look at going this route.
correct. And I don't see a reason why McKee would not be on that bidders list.
And the
We wouldn't prohibit
Hamiltons have
them. All they have
agreed
to
to
do
the
is
scope of
participate.
service currently? Is that true, Mr.
We're not
Hamilton?
exposing the city to more liability of other people feeling like they were treated unfairly when this is a
No,
different
you're
case.
following your same normal process.
We're going through a normal process, and if it so happens that there is not a competitive option there, then you can look at the
Correct.
non-competitive.
What my recommendation would be is we take that that process, hey, we're in special circumstances here. We followed our housing assistance plan rules. We are asking for Commerce to give us that waiver. That way, the liability is shifted away from the city. We have approval from the funder, and then we can move forward. in
But
that
we
process.
signed the scope of services, we did
Yeah.
everything we could to do this the right way, and it was.
Hamiltons need to sign it. We've signed it, we've agreed to
Correct.
it, we agreed to it, we're ready to submit it. That's it.
Is that
That's it.
reasonable,
That's
Robert?
reasonable.
Well, the
Is this
only 2
reasonable?
things missing are the raised ridge roof.
Well, Can we just hear from Mr. Hamilton in response to this question?
Easy. I know everybody's excited.
It's just tense, yes.
I forgot your question. Yeah, it's all
Do
agreeable.
you agree to the scope of service?
That me?
Yes, the recent that we sent one.
Well, let's
Yeah.
go. I'm agreeable to the scope of service.
It does not currently. I will add that in. We've taken it out and added it in and taken it out with overtime.
So on the record, you're saying you're going to add it back in for what will for them to sign.
Back over to the Hamilton.
Robert, is that okay?
Well, what
Can we
about
move
the
forward, Robert?
installation?
Can we sign this and move forward?
Let's let Mr. Hamilton remember what he wants to say.
To be honest with you, there's a lot. Can you imagine a year in our life going through this daily with the emails?
Well, then you don't
But
have to say
answer your
anything right
question,
now, but my hope is in good faith, you can take a look at what's provided and we can get this signed and move forward.
I believe Olga and I are in agreement with the scope of work, correct? Yes or no? No
Yes,
story.
one moment. Before I leave this place, I would like request the specifications on the Cobra roof ridge vent system.
Why?
From the
We're talking about a new
because
roof
no,
ridge
no, no,
vent.
no, no.
Already.
Mr. Mortel and Mr. Jenkins stated we have Cobra roof ridge vent system.
We're off that.
I would like to have
Do you want
from
to
the
prove
building
fraud, or
department.
do you want a roof ridge vent on the house?
We're off that.
Come on.
Let's
No,
move
I
on.
would like to have that specifications, and I would like to have an inspection by independent to check if that was installed according to specifications.
We're
And I want to
prolonging the
know
whole
when Cobra roof
I think her-
specifications were
One second, Olga. I think what her concern,
submitted to the building department.
Okay.
I think what her concern is, this has turned into, as you all know, a very convoluted mess. Mr. Mortel has his opinion. Mr. Baggett is a smart lawyer. He stays
I
quiet.
think we're there, Robert.
Okay.
If you
Yeah,
guys-
you won, Robert.
Sorry,
Let's-
sir?
Let's just
We're there.
sign
I
it.
don't think it's convoluted. At this
Mr.
point, it's
Mayor.
not convoluted. If you'll sign the scope of
No,
services, we can move forward.
That's what it was. You just reminded me again. The scope of work's not an issue at all. Do you agree with that, yes or no, Olga? No story.
The recent one.
The recent one.
Recent
I'm agreeable. What I'm not agreeable to, I will not sign that waiver they sent me to sign all my rights away.
What's the waiver?
We're not going to get into that. He knows what I'm talking about. So does Mr.
that
Moore.
gonna stop the
They
process?
wanted me, it will definitely stop the process. You cannot have somebody sign all your rights away to fix your property that you can't go to court. Bull crap. Buck stops there. I apologize for saying bull crap. But yes, I'm agreeable to the scope of work. Olga is, Mr. Jenkins said
Okay.
he will
Then it sounds like we're there.
put the roof ridge, the whatever, the right, correct roof ridge vent system in. Whew.
We did it.
Are you happy?
Can I add, Mr. Mayor, can I have one statement,
indicated-
please?
He indicated he will be adding that to the scope of work. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
And one moment, that mortgage we have with the city, 57,330, I need a paper, that mortgage is null and void.
Yeah, that was
Because
her other
we are
concern.
not putting another
Olga,
mortgage on
Olga,
our place.
Olga, you said it. The bottom line is, and then the city comes back and says, hey, we paid Patriot for this. This gets added to it. No, it's not good. Even though it's not a payment mortgage, I get that.
Can we visit that?
It'll
once
never come
we
up.
hear back?
That's all she's,
That mortgage hasn't been recorded.
all she's asking,
Okay.
all she's asking.
Well, everybody's on the record.
Can I
saying
just
it hasn't
finish?
been
All
Additional
she's
paper.
asking, Olga,
Go.
all she's asking is,
Olga.
because she's used to being in a courtroom with judges and attorneys, she just wants it put in writing, for God's sakes. I hear what he's saying.
If I can respond, the mortgage is a non-payment mortgage. They don't have to pay anything. What Florida Commerce wants to do is record the amount they pay. So if it comes out to $81,000 and Florida Commerce wants to change the mortgage to $81,000, I'm not going to be able to stop them. But at the end of that term, whatever it is, I don't know how many years it is it 5 or whatever it is, it's 100% forgiven. They don't have to pay anything back. So it's not like they're paying interest on the amount. They're not paying payments on the amount. It's the same obligation that they would have to follow either way. Florida Commerce put the amount in the mortgage of what the bid was that they accepted. That was the amount of the mortgage. So if the bid turns out to be $81,000, it's very likely that Florida Commerce is going to want to change the mortgage to reflect that amount. However, so what? It doesn't matter because they don't have to make any payments. They live there for the 5 years and it's 100% forgiven and it's over with.
That's why it's not forgiving this mortgage. For example, if something happens to me, I get hit by car, Robert something, and we cannot take care of this place. And we have to sell, for example, because we are not able to, it's a very difficult to take care of historical building. And if something happens, I have to, Robert and I will have to pay not just 80,000, but 57,000 as well, if that is null and void.
Okay. Can I have one?
Commissioner, excuse me, sir. Board member
Yes,
Giobi
but
would
as
like-
we now have come close, I want to thank the Hamiltons. I want to thank you. I want to thank your sister for coming here to speak, and other people have spoken in your behalf. I want to thank everyone here who has come halfway at least to make this happen. So that's you, Mr. Jenkins, the city manager, all of that. The one thing I wanted to add, and I think it got lost in there, the insulation is not on this scope of work.
That's correct. That's because the ceilings aren't there. We can't blow in insulation if there are no ceilings. Oh, is it there now?
Yeah, and
So-
you can't use blown insulation in a historical building. It's got to be a rock wall or like a rock wall in their back.
But once we get the scope signed, we're going to send that up to SHPO anyway for all of their opponents to
Okay,
make
for
sure
their
that they
approval.
approve it.
Right.
We're not going to move forward until we get approval at every single level beforehand. So as it relates to the mortgage, right now they don't have an active mortgage. It hasn't been recorded. So
I
it's
do
not a-
understand
So
Mrs.
it's not a
Hamilton's
lien.
concern.
And I do
Right.
understand her concern. Here's how CDBG is structured. If something happens to one of them, the other continues on with the mortgage.
Okay.
If something happens to both of them, that mortgage is automatically forgiven.
Okay.
And automatically forgiven. If they happen to want to sell the home, and after all of this, I don't think they would probably ever want to sell it, but.
No, they really
If
wanna
something
restore
happens
that.
and they decide to sell it, they can always approach the city council and say for hardship, whatever that hardship may be, even if it's this portion of it, we would like to have that waived.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone because now a lot of things are on the record that were unclear and misspoken and whatnot. So I think a lot of things are very,
Thank you.
I think a lot of things are very clear and in the open, and they're on record, and they can be certainly, referred to and whatnot. I want to thank everyone involved, the Hamiltons, Ms. Jenkins, the city attorney, the city manager, all of the commissioners. Thank you, Mark. This has been a long time coming. For Sean and I, it's something that happened way before we even got onto this commission, and I really like to see it just resolve and move forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I do not see a need for a specific presentation by our own staff. We seem to have we have gotten to the point where we will wait for the Hamiltons to sign the scope of service.
Do we need to make any sort of
I don't
motion?
believe so. I think staff understands this, and the Hamiltons, you understand?
Can we adjourn?
Just as one other point of
Mr.
reference for you, we
Hamilton's
can,
sister has a
We allow Mr. Mortel to
we
speak.
can do the tax meeting at the end of the city commission meeting. It just has to be after 5.
Yes, yes,
So as
we
long as
will
we do that
move
before
right
we-
into that.
Or we can do it at the end of it if we want to start getting, we can skip it till after.
Oh, it can be at the end of the next?
Yes, if we want to wait and do it at the end, it's just going to be later.
Okay, so then we will, I am adjourning this meeting. Thank you all for participating. We will adjourn we will convene the next meeting at 6:10.